I saw this article was, I think it was recommended by Southern Poverty Law Center. I forgot what network it was on. Okay, but I was very impressed with it because it really shows how somebody acting on what they're thinking about can have very good results, and how sometimes we just have our ideas, or we have our feelings, and we don't do anything and nothing comes of it. But this is a story of somebody who did something. Okay, so it starts out, I think this is a forward from the Southern Poverty Law Center. The bad news about the criminal justice system can seem overwhelming. Vast racial disparities and incarceration rate unprecedented in world history. We have the highest rate of incarceration, I think, in the world. I mean, even more than some of the really ludicrous regimes. We incarcerate more citizens. And the incarceration rate more than quadrupling over the past 4 decades. A school-to-prison pipeline that short circuits our children's futures. So in many neighborhoods, it's you go to school until you get arrested, and then you go to prison. And for the kids, one parent or sometimes both are in prison, and the kids don't see any vision. They don't have any vision for their own lives other than that, because that's what they see in the communities around them. So it's a bleak picture of American justice. That's why a prison re-entry plan conceived by and for Indiana women is such a breath of fresh air. So here's the story about this woman. Vanessa Thompson was incarcerated in the oldest women's prison in the country. You can imagine what it was like inside. When she had what writer Ellie Hager of the Marshall Project calls her eureka moment. Watching the news in her cell, she heard a mayoral candidate in Indianapolis describe 10,000 abandoned houses and lots. Okay, and so this is what she thought. What if, she thought, people re-entering society from prison helped rebuild these homes, and then, after putting in several thousand hours of construction work, got to live in one? This could also help solve a second intractable social problem, the lack of housing for ex-offenders, which had helped send so many women she knew back to jail. Because it's true, when you're released from prison, often, they give you $20 and a bus ticket if you're lucky, and where are you supposed to live? Yeah, and if you reveal that you're coming out of prison, then very often landlords won't take you anyway. Yeah, so she just thought of all these empty houses and thought, wow, it's a doable restoration, she thought, not just of the house, but of the person. Yeah, said Thompson, now 44. What does Indianapolis need? A solution to this housing crisis. What do women in prison need more than anything? Ownership of our minds, of our bodies, and of our physical homes. Thompson was enrolled in a public policy class in the prison's higher education program when she had her big idea. She had learned how to contact elected representatives, how to talk to the media, and how to write policy proposals. So this is because one prison had an education program. This was higher education, so maybe they brought in people from the community college or a local university. Many prisons totally cut out those programs, leaving the people with no education and actually no vocational training either. So she was quite fortunate to be able to take this class and that it taught her a bunch of things. So she wrote up one of her housing plans and she brought it to class. Women imprisoned aren't thought of as public policy experts, her teacher said, but who knows more than they do about key issues like domestic violence, inner city food deserts, lack of food in the inner city, and what it takes for a mother to survive with her children on the streets of Indianapolis after she is released from prison. So often what happens in this country is, and many countries, is the people who have never had the experience, are sitting in their nice environments, planning things for people who are actually the ones who know what the experience is and know what they need better than anybody else, but those people are never consulted. Okay. 2 years after Thompson first wrote her proposal, 4 of the women in her class presented videotaped testimony to the Indiana state legislature, talking directly to lawmakers in their state-issued khaki uniforms. Yeah, so they had to do it by video because they wouldn't let him out of prison to go talk to the legislators. The assembly, one of the most conservative in the nation, guess who is also from Indiana, approved their proposal unanimously. I never would have known my power as a citizen if I hadn't become a prisoner. Imagine that, another student in the class had said. Housing isn't the only problem women like Thompson have taken on. They poured water on cheap, listen to this, they poured water on cheap menstrual pads in front of state legislators, shocking them into calling the lieutenant governor to address the woefully inadequate supplies in the prison. This is what they had to do to get things that worked. They discovered an error in a 450-page bill to revise Indiana's criminal code, changing how sentence reductions could be calculated under state law. Thompson began to see her potential for reform all around her. In everything and everyone, there were possibilities for renovation, restoration, and renewal. Yeah. So I thought, wow, because usually in prison, that's when you feel the most hopeless and the most helpless because there's very little you can do. So many people just give up. And here's somebody who didn't give up, but who acted and really got some very good results, affecting not only herself, but many of the other incarcerated women, and I think many other inmates in Indiana in general. So this is an example for us, and why we should always feel our efficacy in doing things and shouldn't just give up on ourselves.